Hello everyone, this is the Mighty Glue Stick and I'm your host AJ. Nice to see you. Today is another creature feature, thanks to a posting on the Facebook groups of the Umber Hulk. I'm going to be covering the Umber Hulk, a classic D&D monster that you find underground usually, but it can wander pretty much anywhere and they have a propensity for bursting out of the ground and inflicting maximum mayhem. I have a couple of miniatures of the Umber Hulk. These are the official versions. We have this one here, old school, and as you can see it is an insect-like, humanoidish, monstrous creature with huge mandible scything bladed sort of mandibles coming out the front and these vicious digging claws, and it has a skin which is as hard as steel, if not harder. So that's the just Umber Hulk, and it's on a large miniature base. Yeah, and then we have this one which is on I think it's a huge base, which is the Shadow Hulk. So it's a more monstrous and dark shadow version. I also use this one as the Elder Umber Hulk or the Queen Umber Hulk or whatever. I've also used this as an alien on a spaceship as well, because yeah, they look suitably alien as well. Okay, so what do we know about Umber Hulks? They're a large monstrosity. They're chaotic evil. They hunt pretty much anything, but I would say they're intelligent enough to hunt and kill humanoids that come lurking into their lairs. What they do is they tend to lie in wait just on the other side of a thin bit of rock that they've burrowed a little cozy point for themselves, and they ambush by waiting for something to come by, feeling little sensitive hairs, tremor sense the victims coming, and then they burst out, and everybody looks in their direction, and that's when the main power of the Umber Hulk kicks in, which is its ability to confuse everyone by its gaze. So the Umber Hulks have got they've got two sets of eyes. There's main eyes here, which they see the environment around them, and these confusing gaze eyes here, which emit a magical field of confusion. The other thing to keep in mind with the Umber Hulk is that this confusion can cause characters to attack anybody nearby, right next to them, and it can cause them to go wandering in a different direction or a random direction. What I do in this is I've got a special dice of mine which has got cardinal directions on it in the form of a D8, and you can easily assign one for north and a 2 for northeast and a 3 for, so all the cardinal directions can be covered on a D8 if you just have a little note next to you what the different numbers assigned to. You can use a D8 for determining what happens if a character is confused, and also determining which direction it might go in easily. And D8 is pretty handy for a 50-50 roll as well, so it's either below 4 or above 4 to determine whether it attacks this person adjacent to them or that person adjacent to them. It's random. Okay, they also have really good tunneling ability, so they can tunnel at 20 feet, burrow at 20 feet, and they can even go through solid rock. And they've got a normal movement speed of 30 feet, hit points 93, and armor class of 18, natural armor class of 18, which is pretty high. So they take a lot of bruising, so they're suitable for taking on a 5th level party all by themselves. If you want to expand on the ability of the Umber Hulk, I'll be talking about some different ways that you can make the Umber Hulk more interesting or a more challenging solo encounter for later on, for more experienced characters in the game, for advanced play. And one of the ideas I had for that, well actually I'll cover that in a second. So the main abilities for multi-attack for the Umber Hulk is its claws and its mandibles, its giant mandibles. Its bite is much more powerful than its claws. It's got a +8 to hit, so it's gonna hit you most of the time. Definitely at level 5, it's definitely going to hit characters most of the time. So bear in mind that its maneuverability, it's got a 30-foot movement. It can move and attack, just like the characters can. So it can move, attack one character, move again, attack another, move again, and bite the third. So it can take on an entire party fairly easily. And I would suggest that use its size and bulk to burst through, to shoulder charge, to throw characters out of the way. It's got tremendous strength of 20. It can grapple. It can use everything that a giant pro wrestler could do. This thing can definitely do, and its claws are capable of shredding things. Its claw attack is 1d8 plus 5 slashing damage, and its bite is 2d8 plus 5. Okay, so Umber Hulks. The idea about fighting an Umber Hulk mainly is that you want to avoid its gaze, because gazing at this thing is a bad idea. It's like getting turned to stone by a Medusa. So you've got to avert your gaze at the start of every round to avoid being confused automatically by this thing or having to fail a saving throw, which is a DC 15 charisma check. So the Umber Hulk has advantage normally on attacks against characters who are unaware of this confusion ability. And there will be very sketchy lore about Umber Hulks, because this confusion ability has an added side effect of making people forget their encounter with an Umber Hulk. So you could even play it up in the game so that characters wake up confused, torn and bloody, and they had an encounter with an Umber Hulk they don't even remember. You could play it out later if you wanted to. So that could be interesting. For advanced play with the Umber Hulk, you would look at the creatures in the Underdark who would make use of Umber Hulks, and that would most definitely be, it would either be cajoled or baited into patrolling an area by some goblins or lesser creatures who would want to get out of the way of this thing and make sure that they pointed in the right direction, like an armoured tank, or controlled and used as an ally by mind flayers, or other smart, intelligent creatures that would make use of this thing's ability to hamper and disrupt and hole up an entire party as they fight this thing. Particularly in the case of a mind flayer, because an Umber Hulk's ability to confuse people and have them move in random directions or have their gaze averted so they can't see what's going on makes it very easy for a mind flayer to sneak up and use its grapple and brain extraction ability. Combined with the Mind Flayer's ability to stun victims, it makes for a very nasty encounter indeed, and you don't have to add a lot of extra stuff to that to make it extremely challenging for a party in the Underdark. Umber Hulks have no problem with coming up above ground as well, so feel free to use those things as burst out of the ground monsters that are a bit more potent than an Ankeg. I would add extra abilities to the Umber Hulk. If you look at it, it's got some little feelers on the top there with little feathery bits, which are very reminiscent of a rust monster. So you could rule in your game this thing maybe has some rust monster qualities, so it could slice you to pieces and rust your armor at the same time. Not pleasant at all. You could rule that it only does that on a successful grapple, so it has to have you grappled before it can rust your armor. I would also rule that if it has you grappled and then it inflicts a critical bite attack, it will sever a limb, because this thing can bite through solid rock. So it makes sense that this thing can do some serious damage. Might even want to rule that for lower level characters it would have to do a critical attack with its mandible and you're grappled at the same time. So it reduces the chance of that happening to quite a lot. But you know that if you're grappled by something like this and it gets a critical attack on you, somebody's going to lose a leg or an arm. Or if you're killed, a head. Or, you know, this thing can literally bite people in half. I would also possibly give it some ability to camouflage or blend itself into the environment. It is very good at ambushing things, and so that's what it tends to specialise in. You might even want to have an advanced Umber Hulk that can use its confuse ability to perhaps do something really weird, like marshal and corral and sick oozes onto things. Why not? You might have it so this thing is infected with some sort of fungus, so that being in proximity to it will release poisoning spores that may blind or confuse or choke or irritate people. You might have it so that this thing can squirt some sort of liquid that creates an area of difficult terrain, or you know, so that you enter this area and you've got to do a dexterity check, otherwise you're going to slide and fall prone. and this thing will have a great amount of fun with prone creatures around it. Not only do they not see where this thing is, but their movement is hampered as well, so it makes it extremely deadly. Umber Hulks, you could have aquatic versions again. You could have Umber Hulks that will drop on you from the ceiling. You could have Umber Hulks that have trained cloakers or some other creature, or cloakers that use the Umber Hulk as minions. You could have creatures that ride the Umber Hulk, smaller creatures that use this thing as livestock. Perhaps they've spiked its brain and reduced its ability to think for itself, so it's basically just livestock. Yeah, so a very fun creature to use, and I would recommend that you make full use of this thing as the tank that it is. Yeah, there's nothing quite as scary as fighting a monster you can't see. Okay, that's it. Have